As soon as I got off the plane, I ran into the man who dragged me into the men's room. He should have been in jail, but he stood at the airport and looked at me openly, pretending not to know him. I have endured it for 10 years, and from today onwards, I don't plan to put up with it anymore. I will let him taste the taste of being humiliated too. Caleb Thorne, my good classmate, I have been waiting for this moment for too long. I ran into the scumbag who assaulted me the moment my plane touched down in Ashbourne. Back then, I was his classmate, and he dragged me into the boys' restroom. Afterward, my mom told me not to make a big deal out of it, saying we were just kids. Caleb Thorne's dad brushed it off too, claiming kids don't know any better. From that day on, I swore I'd make them pay. This year marks my second year at work, and it's also the first time I've managed to snag some annual leave. 2 whole weeks to rest at home feels pretty darn good. Stepping off the plane, I dragged my suitcase toward the exit. That's when I spotted someone waiting at the arrivals gate. My steps faltered instantly. I never imagined I'd bump into the creep who assaulted me in a small town like Ashbourne, especially right after landing. He saw me too, and for a split second, we locked eyes in awkward silence. Then he looked away, pretending not to notice. I tore my gaze away as well, silently cursing my rotten luck. My name's Evelyn Snow. I'll never forget the assault from my sophomore year of high school. I was walking down the hallway with a thick stack of homework, heading to the teacher's office. The corridor was quiet, just me, mentally reciting English vocab as I went. Suddenly, a figure burst out of the boys' restroom nearby and yanked me inside. It wasn't until I saw his twisted, ugly expression that I realized what was happening. I screamed and bolted out of there. The urge to flee was overwhelming, but the thought of letting that scumbag get away scot-free rooted me to the spot. I fought the urge to flee and stood guard at the restroom door. 10 minutes later, he emerged. It was Caleb Thorne. I immediately reported it to our homeroom teacher. She called both sets of parents, and Caleb's dad showed up. I clung to my mom, but she just glanced at me before grabbing Caleb's dad's hand with a fawning smile. "They're just kids," she said. "They don't know any better." Caleb's dad chuckled, adding, "Yeah, Caleb's been spoiled by us." They went back and forth, exchanging empty pleasantries like bureaucrats, while my heart grew colder by the second. By the time they left the teacher's office, I was utterly hopeless. But what I didn't expect was my mom's final words to Caleb's dad, the last straw that broke me. "Don't be so serious. It's just kid stuff. We adults shouldn't meddle too much." I yanked my hand away from hers, furious. "Mom, why aren't you on my side?" The whole mess ended with some higher-up coming to apologize in person. Caleb didn't show up. I overheard the adults saying his parents drove him home. That night, Mom told me to invite Caleb over for dinner. I shook my head. "I'm not going." "Why not?" "He did that to me. Shouldn't he at least apologize?" Mom didn't expect that response. Her voice shot up, and she slammed the cutlery on the table with a loud thwack. "How can you be so spiteful, Evelyn? Caleb's already done so much for you. What more do you want?" I was stunned by her reaction. "He did something wrong. Isn't an apology the least he owes me? He likes you, that's why he acted out. You're young, you don't get it." "Likes me? He just pulled you in there, didn't he? What's the big deal? Boys these days are always throwing around the word like. Besides, you're not hurt, so why can't you let it go?" I stared at her in shock, at a loss for words. That Caleb, How could Mom say something like that? Dad didn't say a word the entire time. His silence felt like tacit approval of Mom's behavior. He let her act this way, and she could forgive anyone, except her own daughter. Back then, I thought it was just a quirk of her personality. But later, I realized that's just who she is. I saw Caleb again on the subway. That day, I'd just gotten off and taken a few steps when I noticed a familiar figure ahead. A closer look confirmed it was him. He was chubby as a kid, but now he's even bigger, practically round like a ball. His face is so full you can barely see his neck. Seeing him like that, I instinctively wanted to take another route. But when I turned around, the road was blocked for construction. No choice, I had to push forward. I didn't know which stop he'd get off at, but I prayed I could keep my distance until then. Thankfully, he didn't seem to recognize me. I let out a sigh of relief and stood as far away from him as possible. A few people stood between us, and I kept glancing at him, then out the window, hoping he'd get off soon. Finally, at the next stop, 3 people got off, leaving no one between us. I instinctively held my bag in front of me, staring out the window, refusing to acknowledge him. Then I felt my bag being lifted. I turned around to see him holding it, staring at me with a look of panic. Back on the subway, after getting my bag back, I felt sick to my stomach. I sent a text to Mom. Guess who I ran into? She replied instantly, "Who?" "Caleb Thorne." "Mom, what?" "Tell your dad to pick him up at the last stop." "Me, why should I?" "You're so clueless, Evelyn." "I'm clueless, but he's a saint." I didn't want to walk with Caleb, so I called Dad ahead of time, asking him to pick me up and not wait at the last stop. When Dad arrived, I got in the car only to see Caleb already inside. I was so furious I wanted to jump out right then and there. Ignoring their protests, I headed straight to a hotel downtown and booked a room. Once there, I opened my phone to see dozens of missed calls. I ignored them and video called my boyfriend instead, hoping to vent my frustrations. But he barely listened, instead grumbling about being broke and unable to afford a house or marriage. In that moment, overwhelming hurt engulfed me. I didn't even know how to process my emotions. Choking back tears, I managed 3 words, "Let's break up." Without hesitation, he hung up. I was exhausted, truly, utterly exhausted. Why, when I'm the one who's been wronged, does no one understand me? Why must I be the punching bag, forced to bear all the pain? In my hotel room, I let myself cry uncontrollably. I don't get it. I'm the victim, so why does it feel like everyone's pointing fingers at me? Am I really that wrong? I stayed downtown for a week, partying with friends, eating and drinking recklessly to blow off steam from work and social stress. I spilled everything about the disgusting things I'd been through, and they were furious on my behalf. I told them I'd cut ties with my parents and wouldn't contact them anymore. My friends felt for me, joining in to curse them out. "Your parents are way out of line. They need to know their actions could cost them their daughter," one said. I gave a bitter smile. What can I do? Become like them, ignoring my own child's feelings? That would make me just like them. My best friend Hannah shook her head. "You're too nice, Evelyn. That's why your parents think they can walk all over you. Listen to me, Evelyn. You've got to fight back. Show them the consequences of disregarding you." I sighed. Do I have any other choice? Besides moving out, I need to keep my distance. That's where you're wrong. You've got to push harder. Fight fire with fire, Hannah chirped, brainstorming ideas in my ear. Then, patting her chest confidently, she declared, "Evelyn, leave this to me. I've got your back." On New Year's Eve, I went back home. My family has a tradition. Every New Year's Eve, Grandpa, Aunt Margaret's family, and Aunt Seraphina's family all gather at our place. As soon as I walked in, Mom started nitpicking. "Why are you dressed like that?" She reached over to fix my hair, but I dodged her coldly. "Aunt Seraphina," I said, sitting down beside my aunt. Mom's face flushed red, then pale. She and I don't get along, and she doesn't get along with Aunt Seraphina either. Yet, ironically, Aunt Seraphina and I are super close. Mom often gets driven up the wall by Aunt Seraphina, but I think everything my aunt says is spot on. Since I was little, Aunt Seraphina has been amazing to me. Every New Year's holiday, she'd give me a huge gift envelope and tons of candy. Mom wouldn't let me accept them, so Aunt Seraphina would sneak them to me. "Evelyn, where's your boyfriend?" Aunt Seraphina asked with a smile. I lowered my head, staying silent. "Aunt Seraphina, I broke up with Leo Vance." She blinked, clearly caught off guard. "Did you two fight?" I shook my head and told her the whole story. Mom, listening nearby, looked more and more upset. She slapped my arm in anger. "How can you be so vicious, Evelyn? Caleb didn't mean to hurt you. Do you want to see him locked up before you're satisfied? He didn't mean to hurt me." He tried something awful. That's not hurting me? I sneered. Aunt Seraphina, isn't this ridiculous? Aunt Seraphina hesitated, then sighed and patted my hand. Evelyn, you're not wrong. Don't blame yourself. Mom exploded. Younger sister, this is none of your business. Stay out of it. I laughed in disbelief. Mom, Aunt Seraphina is the only family I've got. You don't treat me like a daughter, but she does. What gives you the right to say she's out of line? I raised my voice on purpose, watching Mom's face turn from red to pale. To outsiders, Mom always plays the pushover, and everyone calls her kind. But I know her kindness is fake. She's only kind when it benefits her. Whether it's Caleb or Leo, they're just pawns to her. Yet for some reason, she holds an irrational grudge against Aunt Seraphina, who poses no threat. Why is that? Aunt Seraphina gently touched my head. Evelyn, don't be upset. Other people's opinions don't matter. Your feelings do. Mom blew up again. Evelyn Snow, what are you saying? Are you implying I'm not fit to be your mother? All these years, I've taught you to be kind, and you just throw it away like it's nothing? Caleb's mom is my boss. Do you get that? If you offend him, how am I supposed to survive at the office?